What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Second Take. It's Vishwa here, and today we're back with yet another video on a team that's been making some pretty significant off-season moves, consisting of drafting Lamelo Ball with their third overall selection in this year's draft, signing Gordon Hayward, and perhaps looking to make some more moves regarding trades as well. To begin with, I'll first be giving a brief description on the past seasons of the Hornets, as they've not been able to be very successful at all. Then I'll be explaining the talent the Hornets acquired this offseason, as well as their pre-existing talent and how they can contribute to a much better regular season and perhaps make a run at the postseason as well. To begin with, when discussing the previous seasons the Charlotte Hornets had, the last time they made the playoffs was only in the 2015 to 2016 season, which was about 5 years ago, which featured the Charlotte Hornets finishing with a record of 48-34, finishing 6th in the Eastern Conference. This team was not a bad team at all, as the squad was led by Kemba Walker and other guys that contributed pretty well, like Nicholas Batum, Courtney Lee, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Marvin Williams, Jeremy Lin, Gerald Henderson, and a decent front court of Cody Zeller and Bismack Biyombo as well. Unfortunately, their one postseason success did not translate to future seasons. As great of a player MJ was as a basketball player and as the GOAT, he simply was not a great GM at all, as he would constantly overpay guys like MKG, Marvin Williams, Bismack Biyombo, Nicholas Batum, among many others, and he would also end up drafting a lot of busts who wouldn't have successful careers as well. This ultimately led to multiple seasons where even when they had an all-star level player in Kemba Walker, MJ was simply not able to build any sort of young talent or any sort of talent in general around him in order to make the postseason consistently or even make it at all. Because of the Charlotte Hornets' inability to develop any sort of talent to build around their superstar Kemba Walker, this ultimately led to Kemba leaving the Charlotte Hornets for the Boston Celtics, and thus forcing the Hornets into a rebuild mode and forcing them to develop their young talent that they've had. There have been many positives in this situation, such as guys like Terry Rozier, Devontae Graham, Miles Bridges, and PJ Washington, Malik Monk, and so on and so forth. However, the Hornets have simply been a terrible team, even worse than they were with Kemba on the team, as they finished 10th in the Eastern Conference this season with a record of 23-42. Although this may not seem that bad, as they were 10th in the East, if you think about it, the 14th seed in the Eastern Conference was the Atlanta Hawks with a record of 20-47, and the Hornets were only 3 games ahead of the Hawks, thus showing that they could have potentially been the 14th seed of the East, thus making them one of the worst teams in the NBA. And if you also think about it, the Charlotte Hornets, how terrible they've been, they statistically have the worst offense in the NBA this past season, averaging only 102.9 points a game, and their offense was simply it was not able to function at all, as Devontae Graham and Terry Rozier were their primary source of buckets, and those two guys, as talented as they are, they simply were not able to lead the squad to any sort of success at all, and they didn't have any sort of shot creation at all apart from those guys. Miles Bridges, he's more of a slasher, he can't be counted on for a bucket. Malik Monk's also more of a streaky shooter, and PJ Washington's also just a well-rounded player. He can't really be relied on scoring as much. So it was just overall just so terrible, especially in the offensive end for the Hornets. As for the defensive end, the Hornets weren't really a bad team at all, as in fact they were 12th in the league in allowing points, as their opponents only scored 109.6 points a game. Even though their defense wasn't as bad, you can't win at many games without even being able to score many points. So all of these factors pretty much led to a terrible season in the previous season for the Hornets. However, even with this terrible past season the Hornets have had, I don't really think many people should be really disappointed, as you can't really expect much out of this Hornets team, especially after Kemba Walker had left. And the Hornets even said publicly that they weren't looking to win. Their primary objective was not to win many games as possible, and they were more looking to develop the young talent they already had. And this was kind of a success, as their goal was kind of accomplished. Their goal was pretty much to develop guys like PJ Washington, Malik Monk, Devontae Graham, Miles Bridges, Terry Rozier, and so on and so forth. To begin with, the first success and the positive that came out of this Hornet season was, of course, PJ Washington, as he was a really big surprise to many people, as nobody expected Washington to be such a solid starter, and this ultimately led to him receiving an honors of an All-NBA second-team rookie team this season, and it was pretty much deserved, as nobody expected him to be knocking down his catch-and-shoot three-pointers as well as pick-and-pop threes at such a consistent rate. He was also providing solid defense, even being undersized at 6'7" at that power forward position, and he was ultimately a big W and a guy that the Hornets could definitely use in their future plans as well. In addition to PJ, the Hornets also have Miles Bridges, and he showed a lot of promise in his second season, as Miles Bridges is a really terrific athlete first and foremost, and he's a terrific slasher to the basket. He caught so many bodies this year, and having that energy type of guy is definitely useful in the future plans for the Hornets. Even though they have Gordon Hayward playing the three right now, I definitely feel like having this type of guy off the bench could really help them on both ends of the floor, as Bridges was also a really terrific defender as well. Finally, one more guy I'd really like to discuss is Devontae Graham, who in my opinion definitely got snubbed of being a candidate for the most improved player of the year. Devontae Graham in his first season with Charlotte in the 2018-19 season averaged only 4 points and 2 assists, and this was primarily because he was in the shadow of Kemba Walker. He didn't really get any minutes at all, but fortunately for him, he was able to average 18 points and 7 assists in his second season, and even Luka Doncic even said that Graham should have been a candidate for most improved player of the year as well. A leap from 4 points to 18 points, as well as assist numbers taking a huge leap as well, definitely shows that this guy is a huge guy that could potentially be an all-star in the future, and is definitely something Hornets fans should definitely feel proud about. In my opinion, if Devontae Graham can keep building on his recent success, it could really be dangerous for the Hornets, especially with Lamelo Ball and Gordon Hayward already in the lineup as well. Speaking of Lamelo Ball, this ties into what I'm going to be talking about now, which are the critical offseason moves, specifically drafting the 6'7" Lamelo Ball from the NBL Australian League, the Illawarra Hawks. When taking a look at all the mock drafts as well as what experts had to say, Lamelo could blossom into a once-in-a-generation type of player due to his 6'7" or 6'8" frame, playing the point guard position, having the ability to finish around the rim with either hand. His handles make him really tough to guard with his shiftiness, with his crossovers, as well as his natural IQ and feel for the game, as well as his excellent playmaking ability, being able to feed his teammates with lobs, kick out to open threes, and his pinpoint perfect passes in general. Lamelo was seen as the best player in this year's draft class by the majority, as he also averaged a stellar 17, 7, and 7 in his year with the Hawks. The one question mark about Lamelo was primarily his inability to shoot the ball consistently, as he shot a terrible 25% from 3 in his lone season, and his efficiency wasn't the best, causing many bust predictions as well. Fortunately, I don't think this will happen. He won't be a bust, as even with his low shooting percentages, Lamelo possesses a lot of potential and promise with his efficient three-point pull-up game and his shot creation ability around the rim, as well as his ability to throw up a lot of running shots and floaters in the paint. And if he can work on this as well as develop a better mid-range game, he could be extremely lethal along with the young pieces the Hornets have. Lamelo was also compared to guys like Jason Williams, a taller version of him, Jason Kidd, Mike Bibby, and even Magic Johnson by some. And when also taking a look at Lamelo's fit with this Hornets team, Lamelo should immediately be able to start at the point guard position alongside either Devontae Graham or Terry Rozier, my prediction being Devontae Graham. A starting lineup of Lamelo, Graham, Gordon Hayward, PJ Washington, and Cody Zeller should be really exciting to watch compared to the previous season, and with guys like Rozier or Graham leading the second unit with other promising young guys like Malik Monk, Cody Martin, Miles Bridges, and Bismack Biyombo to crash the boards. Like I said earlier, Lamelo has an excellent ability to throw lobs to the young guys like Miles Bridges, who's one of the league's best dunkers, PJ Washington, who's also really athletic and strong, even being undersized at 6'7", and he can dish out to open shooters like Graham, Rozier, Monk, Gordon Hayward, as well as Cody Martin as well as find guys that are open for cutting shots to the basket and his pinpoint dishes as well. While Lamelo could work on his scoring game a bit more with good coaching and practice and be more of a primary playmaker, Gordon Hayward can step up as a leading guy to score the basketball. When taking a trip back to Gordon Hayward's career, his best years came from the tenure with the Utah Jazz, improving year by year, averaging 5 points his rookie season, then building on with 12, 14, 16, 19 in the following years, and his best year saw him average 21.9 points in the 2016-17 season, in addition to 5 rebounds and close to 4 assists. This also demonstrates his ability to facilitate when asked of him, as he also averaged 4 and 5 assists in the later years of his career. One more thing that Hayward did excellently throughout his career was shot the ball really consistently from 2-point range and 3-point range, as he also shot over 35% for most of his career. Unfortunately, following his arrival to Boston Celtics, he got injured in the first game of the season, suffering a really gruesome ankle injury that ended his season. Hayward unfortunately was never the same player as he was on the Jazz, as his numbers took a huge tumble as he would only average 11, 4, and 3 off the bench for the Celtics the next year, shooting a much worse 33% from 3. Even though Hayward proceeded to bounce back from the down year, having stats of 17, 6, and 4 the year after, shooting a tremendous 38% from 3, Hayward was not really happy on the Celtics, which could be due to the stellar play of the Celtics' young wings, who are currently rising stars Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. He would end up declining a $34 million player option and chose to join the Hornets on a 4-year, $120 million deal, and this could probably be because he wanted to be the primary guy of the team. As many people would think, MJ was not smart for this decision, as he is overpaying guys like Hayward, as he has done in the past with other guys I previously mentioned. I completely agree, but I also think it's only right for the Hornets to stop developing a losing culture, as it could be really detrimental to all the young guys. MJ could have easily had a similar season to last season, tanking for another lottery pick, but even though he overpaid Hayward, it was time for the team to stop losing. When examining Hayward's fit in the starting lineup, Hayward can contribute with an excellent all-around play as a two-way player at the small forward position, and he can facilitate when needed. However, in this situation, due to Lamelo Ball and Devontae Graham, I definitely foresee Hayward's role as a primary option for scoring and getting a lot of ISO opportunities, as well as have a lot of catch and shoot opportunities as well. As you guys can see, the Hornets have always struggled with 3-point shooting, but Hayward can immediately change that with his ability. Hayward is also very efficient and won't take ill-advised contested shots, and can create for others and get a bucket when needed. Finally, I also see Hayward being an excellent veteran presence to the young guys like Miles Bridges and PJ Washington, and being more of a leader in Charlotte. Therefore, overall, Hayward definitely seems like a terrific addition in the sign and trade with Boston, even though he may cost a bit too much. Finally, the Hornets can also get rid of Nicholas Batum and his ridiculous $27 million contract by acquiring Hayward, as he's more of a replacement for him. And reports say that the Hornets are planning on finding a trade partner, maybe a third team for him, or waiving him, which I think is really beneficial in terms of cap space for Charlotte. In my opinion, if the Charlotte Hornets are able to acquire perhaps another promising big man, someone like Harry Giles, in my opinion, they could really succeed in the future, as they would have more of an all-around team with their guard spots already occupied, as well as their small forward and power forward positions with Hayward and Washington. I definitely feel like getting a more younger big man could benefit their roster. Not saying Cody Zeller isn't good, he's a solid big man, but if they want to go even deeper in terms of doing better in the regular season, a promising big man, maybe trading some guys that they want to get rid of, could be really beneficial for the roster. Well, there you guys have it. The Charlotte Hornets have been such a terrible team for the past 4 to 5 years, but in my opinion, I definitely feel like Lamelo Ball and Gordon Hayward can change this, as Lamelo Ball represents a really terrific replacement for Kemba Walker, and with his skill set, especially at 6'8", this could definitely be their franchise point guard, and he can contribute really well with the young players in the roster. Gordon Hayward's a terrific veteran at that small forward position with his all-around ability, like I explained. And with the Hornets' already young roster with guys like Malik Monk, Devontae Graham, Miles Bridges, and PJ Washington, this team does have a lot of promise to potentially make the playoffs, especially since there is 10 teams for each conference in the playoffs now. But in my opinion, if the Charlotte Hornets want to acquire a big man or perhaps some more talent, I feel like getting rid of some bad contracts like Batum and Bismack Biyombo, Cody Zeller, and more guys is a big priority, as they're kind of restricting them from reaching their limits as well. With that being said, that's Second Take's opinion on if Lamelo and Hayward can lead the Hornets back to relevance or perhaps a playoff caliber team, especially since there are 10 teams that could potentially make the playoffs in the Eastern and Western Conference now. I personally think that the Hornets are going to become a much better and exciting team to watch. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. Comment down below your opinion on this take and what other teams you want to see us do. And thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe to the channel, and peace.